What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to this episode of OTA Clips. I'm Griffin Senyek, joined by my co-host of Outside the Arena, Mac Rommel. And today, NFL free agency is it's in full swing. We held off a day on filming the episode. We felt that it'd be best to get some more deals, and seems like we made the right decision. A lot happened today as well as yesterday. Obviously, the start of free agency, a lot of faces and a lot of new places. So we're just going to jump right into it. And I think the big story that we first have to address is the New England Patriots. They've made a ton of moves this offseason, locking up some notable guys like Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. We each had one of them going to New England. We didn't think, both would somehow end up there in our predictions. Matt Judon also going there on a big deal, as well as some receivers, Nelson Aguilar, Kendrick Bourne, as well as some more defensive role players like Jalen Mills and Davon Godchaux. Definitely botched that. So with you, Mac, obviously, New England has come out with the intention of spending a lot of money. They obviously re-signed Cam Newton to a one-year deal. I believe we touched on that this weekend on the podcast. What are your thoughts on this? What do you think? What are your thoughts on the moves? And I guess I don't really. It's shocking. I'm shocked at all of this.
It really is. And considering, I don't know if you guys have heard the stat, but it's been the past 10 years, only $400 million in total contracts has Bill Belichick spent in free agency. And this year, I think he already passed half of that in one off season. Of course, you need the big guys, Judon, Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith. And this is kind of making me feel like Bill Belichick's trying to copy the Buccaneers right now. You're seeing they're getting two star tight ends nonetheless. And so they're going to try and have a big role with those tight ends. And as I said in the last podcast, the Patriots, they've been known for how they use their tight ends. They had Gronk, Aaron Hernandez that year. You don't have to go into Aaron Hernandez at all, but that it's really what they do. They have to have reliable guys who can make plays in the end zone and be red zone threats. And I think that's what they want to do here. Get some help. You could hope he'll develop and get back to his 2015 form, or you can go out in the draft and a guy who I've kind of thought would fill that role pretty well and could sit behind Cam for a year. And I think that'd be Mac Jones. He could come, sit and develop, and you have some of these guys who are going to be there for a few years. Hunter Henry, Jonnu Smith, as you said, and then also Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar, who are also under contract. So I think these are great signings for the offense. They're not the biggest names outside of the tight end position, but offensively, these are role players who could help get the Patriots really to fight for not getting last place in that division. Defensively, they got some role players, as you said. And Matt Judon, obviously, the big star name there. And I think Matt Judon is a perfect fit for this defense. Although they had the bad season last year, this defense is great. You have the McCourty brothers. You have Stephon Gilmore, who is aging. But you also have young guys like J.C. Jackson, a lot of guys who are still coming and making plays while growing each and every year. And I think Matt Judon will be the star player for this defense in the future. So the Patriots, I think this was a surprise offseason for them, of course, spending a lot more money than they have in the past. But the Patriots, they're building for their future.
I think what shocked me the most was when they signed Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry. I had Hunter Henry going there. You had Jonnu Smith, obviously. I expected them to sign one of these guys just because it was their weakest position, and neither of us expected Kyle Pitts to fall to them in the draft. So I think, we expected them to go for a tight end. I didn't expect them to go for, the top two tight ends and, who are both arguably, top 7 tight ends in the league potentially. It's pretty crazy, but they're clearly got plans to run a 2 tight end set. I saw some crazy stat too that was like they only ran 2 tight end sets on like a very few percentage of their plays this year. That's clearly changed. They give Cam weapons. And like I mentioned it on the other, on that episode this week, Cam's success, you look at his number one target, it was Greg Olsen. It was a tight end, and he's always had success with tight ends. And, his time last year in New England, he didn't have a tight end he could throw to that he could trust. And now he's got 2 of them in the middle of the field, big targets that he could trust, which is something that he needs. Great move there. Matt Judon was a great move as well. He's a superstar defensive player. He fits right in. They needed some outside help, and, he's going to be a star there. The one move that I was not so sold on was the Aguilar move, specifically the money involved. I thought it was a severe overpay to give him $13 million. Specifically, looking now like a guy like a Corey Davis who got 3 years for 37 from the Jets, which we'll touch on in a bit. You can pay. I would rather pay Corey Davis than Nelson Aguilar personally, and even spend a little more money and maybe go get a Kenny Gallaudet type player, something like that. But they clearly have a plan. They clearly felt that they wanted to spend at tight end and not necessarily receiver, but they still got great players. They brought in some more, defensive guys. Jalen Mills, a 4-year deal is a little weird, but the McCourty brothers are aging. They're going to need some younger safety depth. So Jalen Mills, not a bad safety depth guy to have on the depth chart. And it was just, really good moves all around. I mean, you really can't knock them. There was a bunch of other moves they made, some re-signings, and they signed Henry Anderson away from the Jets for the D line. So they're stacking up. They got a lot of depth, and I think this team's not going to be easy to mess with. One guy they did lose, however, which I guess we'll transition with that. Joe Thuney, shocking move. He signs with the Kansas City Chiefs on a 5-year, $80 million deal. Don't know where these guys get the money from to lock up all these, superstar players. But Joe Thuney,
they restructured Pat Mahomes too.
They did. They restructured a lot of deals, but nonetheless, Joe Thuney is a Kansas City Chief, one of the best interior linemen in the NFL. Mac, what are your thoughts on this deal? Obviously huge for Patrick Mahomes, considering that past Super Bowl. He did lose his tackles, though. That can't go unremembered. They cut both of them, obviously. But what are your thoughts on this move?
Yeah, lose your tackles and go get a guard. It makes a ton of sense there. But they needed offensive line help, as you said, from the Super Bowl. Pressure up the middle, pressure off the edge. It was coming everywhere. And I think this is a great signing, as you said, one of the best guards in the league. He'll come in not only as a great pass protector, but I think he'll help in the development of Clyde Edwards-Helaire, of course, their first-round rookie from last year's draft. So I think that'll help out tremendously there. But you're really going to have to still go out and hopefully in the draft, you're going to have to get some tackles there. I think the interior of their offensive line will be pretty solid, especially after the signing, but there's still going to be a team that needs outside help at the tackle position. And he got rid of 2 of the better tackles in the league. So it's going to be hard to replace, especially after what happened in the Super Bowl. But hopefully the Kansas City Chiefs can find a way to fill that need in the rest of free agency or in the draft.
Yeah, I was hoping this guy was going to land with the Jets, but no shocker if the Chiefs are offering him up $80 million
last year.
Yeah, it really would have. But yeah, good for him. He got paid, obviously, and he's now playing on one of the best teams. Great for Pat Mahomes. Great for this team in general. The tackle, this draft class we've mentioned is a deep tackle class. So I do believe the Chiefs will be able to find their potential tackles in there. But overall, it's hard to talk too much about an offensive lineman. In general, it's really hard to talk about their impact and stuff like that. But they make big impacts. We saw in the Super Bowl. And this is going to have a big impact. Pat Mahomes has got one of the best O linemen in his prime in the league. So great move there by the Chiefs. Another O lineman, we'll just briefly mention, good move in my eyes by the LA Chargers to bring in Corey Linsley from Green Bay, the All-Pro center on a 5-year, $62 million deal. I predicted this one. I will throw it out there this week. I felt like it was a good fit, and Herbert's got that guy under center. They did cut some guys on the interior of the line like Trey Turner. So this really makes up for that. They go out and get a superstar lineman that, is going to come in. You can put him on the line for years to come. And I think it's been something that's been missing from this Chargers team for a long time. So good move by the LA Chargers there. I don't know if you have anything else to say or you want to jump to the next guy.
Well, just to add on, I believe they signed Matt Feeler too. So of course they're adding depth there on the offensive line. And as we've been saying, we think they're going to need some help there in the draft and in free agency. And right now they're going out free agency, helping out that O-line. And as I said last week, they're helping aid in Justin Herbert's potential MVP season.
Yeah, we'll see. He's got the weapons. Obviously did lose Hunter Henry. So we'll see what happens at the tight end position. That is a key spot of need right now. But obviously both tight ends on the market are now gone basically. So, and Gronk included, and that is a perfect transition to the next few guys. Shaq Barrett, 4-year, $72 million deal with the Tampa Bay Bucks. Once we saw all the restructures, we knew this was coming. We knew Shaq Barrett wasn't going anywhere. He was going to be a Tampa Bay Buck. You heard it himself say, it was Tampa, and Tampa. He wasn't leaving. And they also bring back Rob Gronkowski, 1 year, $10 million. In terms of some of the other guys, Leonard Fournette, while filming this, he reported as a very strong offer from Seattle, also is being very heavily persuaded by Tom Brady to return. So we'll see what happens with Leonard Fournette. AB situation unknown, as the wide receiver market is moving very slow, which we'll address in a brief moment. But Mac, I know you've had some opinions on the Tampa Bay Bucks and what's been the situation there, but they finally pulled it off. They signed the big 3, including, Gronk's not even in the big 3, but you say big 4. They got all their guys back and they did it successfully, and they're ready to go. So what did you think about this? And Shaq Barrett got the money he deserved, no doubt.
Yep, they're ready to go. They signed all their key guys. And I'm going to keep saying this every single time we talk about them. The one reason I hated them was because I thought they're going to be the 1 year wonder. And look at them. This is a team that's ready to win. And they have players who want to win, most importantly. I think that's what you need. Tom Brady came in here and he really changed the momentum, or what's the word? The dynamic,
Culture.
the culture in the
Yeah.
locker room, and you're seeing it fall right into place. Everyone's taking or they're all restructuring their contracts just to keep the same team there. Shaq Barrett got his big deal off the edge. He was a key force in that Super Bowl, key part in that Super Bowl win over the Kansas City Chiefs. So they re-signed a great player there. Of course, he had Levante David too, who we already mentioned on Outside the Arena. Make sure to go subscribe to us there. But they're really keeping everyone here. Gronk also, as you mentioned, he's back with Tom Brady. He also had that strong offer from the Bills, which he was considering. I believe it was like around the same amount of money, but he decided to stay with Tom Brady to chase another ring for the Buccaneers. They're keeping it together, and most importantly, they're keeping their stars together.
Yeah, I expected this, so I'm not too shocked. But if you asked me after the Super Bowl, how are they going to keep these guys? I probably would. I probably would have been confused and not knowing what to say. And I think we talked about it. We were like, "There's no way they're going to keep all these guys," and they did, and they all got paid too. I mean, Shaq Barrett got paid. Levante David got, I think a little underpaid for probably what he could have gotten on the open market, but he wanted to stay. He's been a long time Buck, and Chris Godwin, they'll work out a long-term deal with him. I'm not worried about that, but good move by Tampa Bay. They're going to be probably the best team in that division next year. I don't think the Saints are going to be quite as good. Obviously, the Saints did re-sign Jameis Winston to a 1-year deal for $12 million. I guess we can jump to the QB carousel now,
Yep.
which is really weird backup market that is taking shape right now. Jameis Winston, 1 year's $12 million in New Orleans. It looks like he'll be the starter. They had that weird Taysom Hill restructure, which I can't even get into. It blows my. I don't understand it. For 4 years, $140 million. It's all voidable. It's very weird. Ryan Fitzpatrick to Washington on a 1-year deal. Andy Dalton to Chicago on a 1-year deal. Tyrod Taylor to Houston on a 1-year deal, as well as Jacoby Brissett to the Miami Dolphins on a 1-year deal. The quarterback market really heated up today, late last night as well with the signing of Ryan Fitzpatrick. The quarterback market basically is, almost gone now. I don't think there's really too many impactful guys that are left on the market. So, Mac, my question to you, which move were you surprised potentially about the most? And, at the end, also, what do you think of some of these moves also? Obviously the Andy Dalton, the Chicago one's interesting. That, you hear the Bears, they were told Russell Wilson's not available. This seems like Andy Dalton might be coming in and starting. It's very confusing. So, what are your thoughts on some of these moves?
Yeah, it's very weird, as you said. A lot of weird moves, a lot of weird teams, a lot of unexpected. But the one player that wasn't unexpected of a signing to me was that Jameis Winston move. We've been hearing all year that the Saints wanted to keep him, and if Drew Brees retired, that he would be a guy that would potentially be a future starter and fill the role of Drew Brees. Of course, they're saying that there may be a QB competition this summer to see who gets that starting quarterback role. We'll have to see how that goes. But Winston, that really wasn't a surprise to me. But the one that was a surprise to me really was the Andy Dalton one. Of course, I'm not just saying that because he was on the Cowboys, but it's really weird. He's getting paid like a backup quarterback with $10 million, but he's likely going to end up being the starter there. And the Bears, it seems like they're going around in the same circles they've been in, especially with the Aaron Robinson part. I'm going to say that really quickly. You want him to sign the tag. He wants a quarterback. I mean, yeah, you want him to sign a tag and get a future contract, and he wants a quarterback, and you go out and get Andy Dalton. That is not what he wants. Seriously, you're wasting this kid's career. It's really sad at this point. He's probably getting his hopes up. Maybe we'll get Russ, but the Bears, they make the calls. He's not available, and you end up with the Andy Dalton, even better than Russell Wilson. So, I mean, the Bears, I think they're only digging deeper holes for themselves by doing this, by making this move with Andy Dalton. You're not going to get arguably your best player back, especially on the offensive side. So I think this was the most surprising move overall from a team standpoint. I think they're really just screwing themselves at this point, honestly. But I think the other signings were good. Of course, you said Tyrod Taylor and Jacoby Brissett, but I think the Andy Dalton one was really a surprise for me and the one that is going to screw a team the most.
Yeah, I mean, the way he phrased it is great. I mean, Andy Dalton, to me, Mitch Trubisky would have been a better option here. And now I think Mitch might be one of the best quarterbacks on the market left. So we're going to see what happens with Mitch. But to me, Mitchell Trubisky gets a lot of hate for his play, but at the end of the day, he is 28 and 21, I believe, lifetime as a quarterback. He's made the playoffs 2 of the 3 past years or something like that. He's had success in the league. I mean, obviously, you can credit it to the defense and the team around him, but Mitchell Trubisky has not been the worst quarterback in the NFL. I mean, he's had his moments where he's been bad, but he's also had great moments as well. I mean, we saw last year with that team, he led them to the playoffs at the end of the day. I mean, Nick Foles was not doing it. He was losing games. Mitch Trubisky led them to the playoffs. So to me, this move is very confusing. It makes little to no sense for me as well. Why are you bringing in a 30-year-old plus quarterback for 1 year to play? Like when the state of your franchise. I mean,
I wish they would have. I wish they would have jumped out for Ryan Fitzpatrick. I mean, that would have been the signing that I think would have been reasonable. Of course, he's a guy that's been all around the league, and he's been making plays still on any team he goes for. And I think he would have been a great guy that could kind of be a bridge quarterback until you find the quarterback of the future. But Andy Dalton.
Yeah, it's just a weird move, especially for guys like Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy, who are on the hot seat. Who knows what's happening with those guys? And it's just like this franchise is just falling apart. I mean, in my eyes, Allen Robinson. I don't think he does not want to be a Bear, especially after this. He does not want to be a Bear. The only thing that I think would keep him to stay is if they trade for Deshaun Watson, which I just don't see happening at this point. Obviously, the Tyrod move's interesting because, you think that could be a move set in place for if they acquire or trade Deshaun Watson, potentially sets them up so they don't need to receive a young quarterback. But I feel like at the end of the day, they still want a quarterback or at least high draft capital. The Ryan Fitzpatrick move was interesting in regards that, Washington, I thought they would try and acquire someone different and not go for this approach of a Ryan Fitzpatrick, Taylor Heinicke competition. I guess I don't know if they'll go quarterback in the draft or what their plan is, but, their quarterback situation is not set in stone. I mean, Taylor Heinicke has played like a few games in the NFL. We really don't know what the situation is with him. Ryan Fitzpatrick obviously is there, but that's a 1-year thing. That's not a franchise quarterback type deal. And for a team with a defense that's young, ready to win, to me, it's, I feel like this team needs to go get that quarterback and just go for it. I mean, obviously, a Sam Darnold or Deshaun Watson. Sam Darnold and Deshaun Watson obviously are the same player, but, acquiring someone like that who, is younger, who has team control left and stuff like that. I mean, the Fitzpatrick move was a little surprising. He's probably the best quarterback besides Jameis maybe on the market. I don't know. I think those are kind of hard, but he's going to lead the team. He's going to get them wins. So no doubt there, but it was a little confusing for me just in terms of where Washington is headed for the future, I think.
Yeah, 100%. A lot of different ways that Washington and these teams could have went. And it kind of seems like they all chose the weird way, to say the least.
They did.
They chose
Definitely
the non-conventional, non-thought ways, and it really would have been interesting to see what would have happened if Dak Prescott somehow hit the market, what team he would have ended up on after what we've seen so far.
It really would have been interesting to see. But now I've got a question for you, Mac. 2 more questions before we touch on the wide receiver market to finish this up. So 3 more topics in total for this episode. Which move was more surprising for you? Would it be Trey Hendrickson's 4-year, $60 million deal with the Bengals or Bud Dupree's 5-year, $82.5 million deal with the Tennessee Titans?
This is a tough one, and I can't say I'm surprised. I'm surprised that Trey Hendrickson would have went to Cincinnati. I mean, Cincinnati, they have been making moves. Of course, we saw Chido Awuzie also going there today, and I forgot, was that Mike Hilton that also went there? I could be wrong. But
I don't think it was Mike Hilton. It was like Cameron Stern or something like that. Yeah.
So
another cornerback. Yeah.
The Bengals were making moves, so of course they would jump on this. But I think the Bengals may have gotten a steal with Trey Hendrickson after what he did this past season. He broke out. I believe he had 11.5 sacks. If I'm, I think, yeah.
He might have even had more. Yeah.
But he really broke out on the Bengals. They're going to fill that need after losing Carl Lawson, or what? I don't even know what I'm saying, but. They feel a need after losing players. You're getting older at the position with Carlos Dunlap there. So the Bengals, I think that was a good move, but it was surprising that Bud Dupree got the money that he got. I'm not surprised that he went to the Titans. I think that's a great fit for him, but in reality, that's too much money for a guy coming off of a torn ACL. He was really having his best season of his career, and then he got hurt. So how he's going to be able to bounce back. The thing I like to say about him is, which has been consistent throughout his whole career, is he forces turnovers, and maybe that's what the Titans like. They need some of that, especially on the defensive line and rushing the passer. But the money he got, it really was too much, especially coming off the injury, as I said. But Bud Dupree, the money was off for me, and I think Trey Hendrickson just going to Cincinnati is a little off for me.
Yeah, I completely agree with you what you said there. The Trey Hendrickson thing was very surprising. Just in terms of the team he went to. Obviously, it seems like this deal is for the money for him. I don't think he's really worried about where he's going. But also the Bengals, you got to remember they have Joe Burrow. I mean, Joe Burrow's been hurt, obviously, so people kind of forget. But they have a young quarterback that looks like a star. They got pieces on that offense. So the team is, they're coming along. By the end of this deal, I think they will be in a playoff contention. Obviously, very tough division they're in, which will make it hard to compete. But that was a surprising move for me. I would have loved to see him on the Browns. Obviously, they went and signed Tack McKinley, which is not a bad move to opposite Myles Garrett. But, that's kind of what they did with Adrian Claiborne last year. And it was just like all right and like mediocre. I feel like if they went out and got Trey Hendrickson, that would have put their defensive line to another level. The Bud Dupree signing was I was surprised at the spot. Obviously, the Titans got to get better, but they lose Corey Davis, they lose Johnny Smith. And, you could have used some of that money on one of those guys. I feel like your offense now is like, their weapons are just gone. I mean, it's Derrick Henry and AJ Brown, and everyone else is really not.
Derrick Henry's putting up two thousand.
Obviously, Derrick Henry is, but they also, they cut their tackle. I believe, one of the tackles, and it just seems like a mess over there. And we were kind of talking about it off there. The Titans, it just seems like they're that team that they're going to make these moves. Like they made the Clowney move, but they were just incomplete. And now it just feels like they're losing pieces on offense. They're getting better on defense, but the offense is going to be incomplete. It just feels like they're always incomplete somewhere, that they can never fully put it together as a team. They cut Adoree Jackson as well today, I believe. It's just a lot of weird moves from this team. And I'm not so sure that giving Bud Dupree that amount of money was the best move they could have made. Obviously, that's kind of the market for these outside linebackers. They tend to make a lot of money, and these edge rushers, but I'm just really, I don't think it was the right move for their franchise. 5 years also, like by the end of this, Bud Dupree is not, he will likely probably be cut at some point on this deal. Bud Dupree will not be a Tennessee Titan for 5 years. I just don't see that happening. None of these deals end up working out for 5 years. I mean, we saw the Kyle Van Noy deal. He got, 4-year deal, and he's cut after 1 year. Like these deals just never work out, and teams are going to start learning that. The Matt Judon deal, he's New England, but 3 years and then he'll be washed or something like that. I mean, these guys will get washed eventually. But 5 years, a lot of years. I mean, I just don't like this deal for the Titans, to be honest, at all. I just don't think it's the right move for their franchise. Obviously, the defense gets better, but at the end of the day, too many years, too much money, and just I'm not. In general, I just don't think it's a great move.
Yeah, 100%. The Titans obviously a mess, and it seems like all the deals, as you mentioned, the Clowney deal from last year, they normally don't work out. They haven't worked out. I mean, you saw what Clowney did. He was a mess this season. He couldn't do anything. Do you see something similar from Bud Dupree? I mean, after getting this deal, because a lot of guys, they get their money and then they kind of start to fall off, and that's how it's been trending. So does Bud Dupree do the same thing? And I loved how you mentioned Adoree Jackson getting cut. That was a surprise move, getting rid of arguably your best cornerback. So it's really a mess over there in Tennessee, and this team's going to really be run through Derrick Henry.
Yeah, I mean, I believe they lost Malcolm Butler potentially too as well. I know they've lost a bunch of guys there, but to me, just an incomplete team. Dennis Kelly was the tackle that they cut. Just remember the name. All right, final thing before we touch real quick on the wide receiver thing. Real quick, I have to bring up the Jets. Which pair of moves do you like better? The Jets signing Corey Davis and Carl Lawson, or the Jacksonville Jaguars going out and getting Shaquille Griffin, arguably the top corner on the market, and Marvin Jones?
Oh man, you're putting me on the spot here. It's a part of, I already know which one you're gonna say. So let me pick the opposite. Let me go with the Jaguars. They got Shaquille Griffin, Marvin Jones, and I think the Jaguars, they're making some good moves today, just adding depth all around their team, and I think that's what they needed to do this offseason. Marvin Jones, when healthy, is one of the better I was about to say quarterbacks, one of the better wide receivers in the league, and I still think
he's quarterback. We don't know.
He could. I think he's still good enough to put up 800, 900 yards when healthy. So he's going to be a good guy, good leader, and good veteran there in a very, very young team, especially after this draft. It's obviously going to be Trevor Lawrence at this point. So I think he's going to help be that reliable target for Trevor Lawrence, and I think that's what Urban Meyer wanted. And then Shaquille Griffin, I do think he was really overpaid. But, of course, nonetheless, he's a great cornerback. and I think that's what they needed. He could also help develop CJ Henderson, who was obviously their first round pick from last year. Obviously, great college player, hasn't panned out so far in his rookie year. So I really think these are moves that are more for the development of the team, not so much as for an immediate impact of the team.
Yeah. The Jets moves, I like Carl Lawson. I think, it's a good guy to go opposite Quinn Williams and that D line. We saw what they did in San Francisco with Robert Saleh. I think Robert Saleh is going to be able to tap into these guys' potential and what they could offer. So I think that's really exciting for those two guys to be, a young defensive line duo. The Corey Davis move is where I start to have a little conflict. Look, to be honest, Corey Davis, he had a great breakout season this year. He's a star. We haven't seen him as a wide receiver one, though. A.J. Brown obviously was taking up the bulk of the targets there and was the better receiver on the team. So if Corey Davis is the wide receiver one on the Jets, I'm a little worried. I think he's a good two, a great two, to be honest, but I'm just not sold on him. I mean, here's the thing for me. We don't know what Kenny Gallaudet is going to get, or a guy like a Will Fuller on the market. We don't know what these guys are going to get paid. If Kenny Galladay's deal comes back and it's like $4 million annually per year, like more or something like that in that range, I'm gonna be pissed because Kenny Galladay is frankly a much better wide receiver than Corey Davis. And I mean, look, Corey Davis is good and all, but I mean, you got better. And the wide receiver market, I mean, it's going to tie in perfectly, but it's moving really slow right now. And obviously, I think the Jets clearly had Corey Davis high on their board. If they went out and got him and paid him, and they said, this is the guy we want, because he's really the only big wide receiver to fall so far that I'm thinking of.
Yep.
A lot of these wide receivers the market's really slow, and I think it'll heat up once one big guy signs. I do believe, the guys like Juju, Will Fuller, T.Y. Hill, and I believe those guys will all fall and, in order. I believe that will come, in the next few days. I expect the wide receiver market to start playing out. But I mean, if the Jets miss out on Kenny Gallaudet and the money is similar, I'm going to be a little frustrated just because Kenny Gallaudet and, Will Fuller even are just, not Juju. I don't want Juju. Honestly, if it was Corey Davis or Juju, I'd probably take Corey Davis. So good move.
I just overpay the crap out of Corey Davis so I don't have to take Juju.
Yeah,
I
literally.
to stay off the team.
Yeah, literally. But yeah, I think, Kenny Gallaudet is just, I don't know what Kenny Galladay's market is going to look like at this point. I mean, are the Jets still in it? I don't know. They have a lot of outside receivers at this point. Are the Giants in on Kenny Galladay? I mean, we're going to see what happens with Kenny Galladay. It's going to be interesting to see, no doubt, where he ends up. But Mac, with that, the final thing we're going to discuss today, the wide receiver market. Obviously, it is while we are here filming this on Tuesday, it's been slow. Guys are not moving. The top guys are still on the board, obviously, except for Corey Davis. Obviously, like we just mentioned, Kenny Galladay, Will Fuller, Juju, T.Y. Hilton, all those guys still on the board. So my question to you, Mac, when do you see this market kind of picking up, and which teams do you foresee being at the forefront of this battle to grab some of these top guys?
You know what? I honestly think it really could be as soon as I'm not sure when you guys are going to be seeing this, but I think it's going to be either.
It'll come out tonight, probably.
All right, so I'm going to say Thursday or Friday of this week. I think we'd see one of the first big names to go. I don't think Wednesday, tomorrow, will be soon enough. I mean, you still have some other guys that are available, especially on the defensive side. You have William Jackson, Anthony Harris, Melvin Ingram, a lot of guys defensively who are still available, and that's kind of the direction most teams have been taking, the defensive side. Those are where most of the signings are coming from, and I think it's going to continue like that until most of the big names are gone, and then I think that's when the dominoes are going to start to fall. We're going to see the receivers start to go. As you mentioned, Kenny Galladay is obviously the big name, and then you have Juju Smith-Schuster and some other guys behind him. Kenny Galladay, of course, the team you would look at is a team like the Giants, but after that Leonard Williams deal, how much money do they have? I know before that, when he was on a franchise tag, they were saying they really can't even afford anyone on the free agent market. So I'm not sure how this deal affects the cap space with them, but I think you could take them out of the equation for now until those details come out. But I'd honestly like to see him go over to Baltimore and play with the Ravens. I think he would be a great fit in that offense, and he would really help out Lamar Jackson, who really hasn't had a true number one receiver in that offense aside from Marquise Brown and he really isn't a true number one. I think he would be more suited as a number two or even in the slot with the speed that he has. So I think Baltimore would be a great fit for him. The Baltimore Ravens be getting a true number one receiver that could really help out Lamar Jackson, so he won't be having those either boom games throwing the ball or those boom games rushing the ball. So I think that would be a great fit for him. But a guy who I'm really looking at and I'm excited to see where he goes. This is Curtis Samuel, a speedster.
Oh, good one.
A speedster, a guy you could do everything with. Of course, he was with the Carolina Panthers last year. And I think the perfect fit for him would be with the Jaguars. I mean, Urban Meyer and him do have that connection from their days at Ohio State. And I think that's something Urban Meyer would like, a guy who is not too old. And he's pretty young, actually. He'll be a playmaker there for Trevor Lawrence. Again, I'm not going to stay away from Trevor Lawrence until I see them pick or say something otherwise. And I think that'll be a great fit for this offense. That'll be versatile. You got your veteran, and then you'll have your young guy. And then you could see and try and develop guys like DJ Chark a little bit more, Laviska Shenault. So you're going to have some pieces on this offense. If you do get Curtis Samuel, I think that would be a great fit. Juju, I think he should stay unsigned. But for Juju, honestly, I'm not sure where I'd want to see him. I think the Raiders could be a potential fit for him, but I'm not really sure where I would see him. But the two main guys I'm looking at here in the upcoming days are Kenny Gallaudet and Curtis Samuel, and I think Curtis Samuel is going to be a big name in the upcoming days when the dominoes start to fall for the wide receiver position.
Yeah, I like the Curtis Samuel point. I kind of forgot about him. A team that's been linked to him, Washington, I think is another great fit. They could use another guy in that receiving group, especially a guy like him who's a speedster, can play multiple positions. We've seen what they've done with multiple running backs. They've kind of run some interesting formations there. Yeah, I think it will start falling in the next couple of days. I feel like most of the defensive pieces are off the board. That I think people are gonna start focusing a little on the wide receiver market. I will say I do believe one of these guys, T.Y. Hilton, is probably the most likely. Is going to end up in Tampa Bay. I do feel like one of these guys will go chase a ring and something like that. I feel like T.Y. Hilton is a very likely chance, honestly, to be in Tampa Bay. I obviously put him on either New England or Baltimore. It might have been Baltimore. I think you put him on New England. Obviously, that's probably not happening now. But Kenny Gallaudet, we'll see what happens with him. Honestly, I have no idea where he's going to end up. Could the Jets still be involved? I mean, I don't know. The Giants seem to be the team that, has linked him the most. Obviously, for the current year, I know you didn't know the details exactly, but Leonard Williams, the deal will save them money this year, but for the future, they're going to have a strong cap hit with Leonard Williams deal the next few years. So are they going to go out and necessarily give Kenny Gallaudet a big deal when they got guys like Saquon Barkley, Daniel Jones? I guess if they want to pay him, they can pay him. Darius Slayton, Will Hernandez, all kind of younger guys on that team that they got to pay. In terms of some of the other guys, Juju, Jacksonville was the team I liked him on. I feel like they might be out on him now necessarily with some of these moves. I just feel like Jacksonville is kind of trending towards running a few guys, seeing what they can do. Juju, I mean, maybe he returns to Pittsburgh on a cheap deal. Raiders, I liked what you brought up there. I don't know how much money Baltimore has, but they do need a wide receiver. They should go out and sign one. But for me, teams that are looking for wide receivers, the Giants, the Ravens, I feel like Tampa Bay is going to be in on someone. I just feel like they're going to go get someone. I'd love to see Green Bay go out and land a wide receiver as well. Maybe Will Fuller to Green Bay. That'd be a cool one. I don't know what their cap deal is. Obviously, they failed to re-sign Corey Linsley, but, some of these teams, there are teams that need wide receivers. But those are probably the teams that I'd say I'm expecting to jump in on the situation.
Yep, a few more days, and all these pieces are probably and all these players are probably gonna have new homes very, very soon. And once this wide receiver market, once one guy goes, they're all gonna start going. So be ready for that, everyone.
Yeah, be ready for that, and also be ready. Stay tuned for March Madness. It's starting on Thursday, so get ready. We're gonna be posting hopefully daily. I'm not sure if we'll do Thursday just because those are the first 4 games. Not too crazy and active with those, but Friday, once the round of 64 really gets underway, we're going to be full.
We're going to get all 64,
and we are going to be, we are going to be ready to go. We're going to be talking. We will have all the latest. We'll have guests on almost every episode, hopefully, to help us discuss the craziness of March Madness. So if you do want to come on the show, just leave a comment below. With March Madness, it's going to be a fun thing. We'd love to have as many of you on as possible to, talk, have fun with March Madness and whatnot. But that's kind of all I got. So I'll let Mac wrap this one up.
All right, everyone. As always, it was a pleasure doing this for you guys. We thank you all so much for watching this episode of OTA Clips. Make sure to go follow us over and subscribe on our other YouTube channel, our main channel, actually, Outside the Arena. We're also on Spotify and Apple. It's also Outside the Arena on those. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe on both channels, and make sure to follow us on our Instagrams. My Instagram is mac.rommel. Griffin's Instagram is
Griffin Senyek.
And our podcast Instagram is Outside the Arena Podcast. And as Griffin mentioned before, daily episodes, hopefully starting on Friday for March Madness. We may not know much, but we're going to get into it for you guys. And we're going to sound like experts once the time's come.
I've been doing my research, I will say, for my brackets.
Okay.
I've been watching. I've been doing my research. I'll be on top of it. You can count me in. But Mac, we'll see. Maybe you got to be watching your games.
Yeah, I do. Hey, I know the one team I'm going to be watching, though. I got to stick with my Baylor Bears. So a little hint.
They're one seed. We'll see what happens there.
For probably who I think is going to take it all home. But as always, everyone, we appreciate you guys for watching, and we'll see you all next time.